Like so many people out there, Akira Toriyama has had a big impact on my life. It started with Chrono Trigger, my favorite game of all time, and his fantastic artwork and designs. Seriously, I have his pieces framed and hanging in my place. But the biggest impact was when I first watched Dragon Ball Z. I loved this show so much that I legit put pencil to paper and started learning how to draw. Well, how to draw Dragon Ball characters. Dude was such an inspiration to me. He had me learn a skill I never knew I even cared about at 12 years old. And that love of Dragon Ball transferred over to its video games, as I really enjoyed playing the Xenoverse games and the somewhat recent Kakarot game. So naturally, when I saw the trailers for Sandland, I was really hyped about the idea of diving into another world created by the GOAT. Well, the game released, I've played through and completed it, and I want to share my thoughts on the adventures of Beelzebub and his friends in this dystopian adventure. A quick note before I begin, I'll be making no comparisons to the Sandland comic, and I'm just going to dive into the game itself. So let's hop into a tank, crank that shit up to 11, and get into it. In Sandland, you play as Beelzebub, the powerful demon prince of King Lucifer. Beelz is hanging with his demon friends when he is encountered by Rao, a sheriff that was in search of the legendary spring. By finding the spring and providing enough water for everyone, he hopes to free the people of Sandland from its king that is hoarding water hostage and selling it to his people at extreme prices. Joining Beelzebub and Rao are Thief, Beelzebub's somewhat mentor and the token wise man of the game, and Anne, an aspiring expert mechanic and a badass on a motorbike. The journey of this motley crew will have them face many beasts, vehicles, and entertaining villains, while exploring the vast barren world. I'm not going to go any more into the plot of this game because it will lead to spoilers, but I will tell you this, there's a lot more going on than meets the eye. I find the story of Sandland to be very light and adventurous. Seeing the world around you through Beelzebub's eyes gave me a sense of childlike wonder. Whenever you learn something new, not only are you, the player, learning about it for the first time, but so is Beelzebub. And since Beelz is pretty much just a kid, his reactions are full of extreme excitement or subject to sharp and blunt criticism, as a child would do.
I have reason to believe that it exists somewhere here in this desert.
A spring? In this freaking desert? You must have sunstroke or something. What makes you think that?
I would say that the game has an overall light feel, but don't be mistaken, there are definitely some heavy and serious plot points in this game. It's not all just laughs and giggles. I love the party in Sandland. Beelzebub is just a classic Toriyama character, not only with the childlike nature as I mentioned before, but also with the over-the-top badass strength and swagger, much like you get from Goku in Dragon Ball. Rao is a great representation of the human race in Sandland, as he has a complex and controversial past that he wants to redeem. His backstory is tragic, and you just want to root for him. Anne is very spunky, and her desire to become the world's greatest mechanic is admirable, as we all should have some sort of goal like that to strive for. And Thief is great for knowledge and comic relief alongside Beelzebub. It's honestly a great assembly of heroes. On to the best part of Sandland, the gameplay. Starting with basic hand-to-hand combat, there isn't much to say about it, it's very simple. There are light and heavy attacks, and you can activate skills. Easy peasy. But fisticuffs is actually a very small part of combat in this game, as the main attraction, vehicle combat, is the focus. There are several vehicles that can be crafted, like tanks, motorcycles, dune buggies, and various mechs. Pick your desired vehicle and head off into danger. The vehicle combat is pretty simple as well, as you have guns to cycle through, a turbo feature to help avoid attacks, and your party helps out as well with various skills. And let's say that the vehicle you're in is too slow, no problem. You could simply switch to another vehicle instantly and continue the fight. You need to engage enemies and drive at the same time, so steady aim and a little bit of awareness is required, and let me tell ya, it's fun as hell. The controls and movement are easy, responsive, and satisfying, but if you're not paying attention, you can get in trouble pretty quick. Most of the times, enemies group together in large mobs, and mowing through them with the tank is just so awesome. Honestly, with how quick the vehicle combat is, and how you need to maneuver, reminds me of playing an arcade game. That's the best way I could describe how combat in this game feels. The game also adds more segments that aren't just third-person action combat. Scattered throughout the world are enemy bases, and when you approach these areas, you are put into a stealth mode, kind of like the Predator mode in the Batman Arkham games. You have to sneak around and strategize the best way to take out foes in order to progress or reach a treasure. Your sneak attack is an instant KO, but if you get caught, it's back to the last checkpoint. I found these segments to be okay. They're not bad, but they're not that great either. I would much rather prefer to storm a base on a vehicle and raise hell, but at least there is some variety. Also, through various parts of the game, you'll be locked into a 2D mode, which basically turns the game into a side-scrolling action game, which is fucking fantastic. Totally reminds me of the NES games I played growing up. Sadly, there aren't that many sections that do this, and I wish there were more. I really enjoyed the 2D stuff. I found the stealth and 2D portions to be a good surprise. I did not expect anything like that when I first started playing. And that's kind of the theme of this game. You're just surprised by so much the more and more you play the game. Sandland offers way more than expected. Along with main story quests, the game of course offers several side quests, but they have a fun twist. During your travels, you will find the town of Spino, which was once a bustling town, is now just a rundown ruin. By completing side quests, you end up recruiting NPCs to move to Spino, thus expanding and changing the city. Lots of helpful resources can be established, like various shops, restaurants, and a place to customize the appearance of your vehicles. And I loved customizing my shit. I def went for a Gundam look with each vehicle. I also love it whenever a game adds some kind of city building aspect in a game, like ActRaiser, the Suikoden games. It's just another fun layer to add, as well as adding an extra bonus and motivation to complete side quests. Next, I want to talk about how fucking outstanding this game looks. Bandai Namco is really nailing the anime look in their games recently, and Sandland is by far their best work in that aspect, in my opinion. Animations look smooth, faces have lots of great expression, effects are colorful and fun, the use of several lines instead of a solid black for shades on everything is just fantastic, and I love looking at it. I just feel like the devs did an amazing job bringing Toriyama's world to life. And you'd think with a game that is just one giant desert, there wouldn't be much to be impressed about, but the game is just visually stunning. Another surprise for me was how enjoyable I found the music. I didn't really have any big expectations at all, and was impressed with the score. I also really liked the voice acting. Now, I'm not one of those people who knows all the voice actors and their works, but I thought the actors did a great job. I didn't find anyone annoying or irritable, and the voices used fit the characters really well. Some criticisms I do have about the game are very few but worth mentioning. The dungeons in the game, whether they be big ones or small ones, are all very simple and almost duplicates of each other. More variety would have been great. The same can be said about the enemy variety. Outside of bosses and sub-bosses, the creature enemies are just raptors, scorpions, crocodiles, and panthers. And as you progress, it's the same, but they're just stronger and sometimes a different color. When I need to grind materials from them, it can get pretty boring. Also, I'm kind of on the fence about the exploration of the game, as it's really fun to drive around and explore, but what you find isn't really that spectacular. There are just a shitload of treasure chests to find everywhere, but after a while it gets dull, and even my sporadic completionist attitude was just like, fuck it. And I do want to bring up a point. I don't really know if this is a criticism or not, it depends, but I found almost the entire game to be really easy. There is a difficulty setting, and I highly suggest that you turn it to the maximum difficulty if you actually want some kind of a challenge. Finally, during my playthrough, the control of dialogue kind of sucks. There's no real autoplay outside of cutscenes, so during voice conversations, you have to hit the button to keep it going. I don't know, I just found that annoying. Sometimes I like to just set the controller down and pay attention, and I find it odd that autoplay wasn't just a default. Also, the dialogue while driving gets old fast, as the characters will chat and say the same shit over and over. I wish there was an option to just turn that off. That's really all I have to complain about. I consider all that to be pretty minor, and none of it ruined the game for me at all. Sandland was a damn good adventure. I enjoyed the story, the action, the characters, and the world. All the fun surprises, plot, and gameplay wise were very welcome, and I just wish I could go on another journey with Beelzebub and company. And a final big surprise I'll mention, this game was way longer than I thought it was going to be, and I mean that in a good way. I honestly thought it was going to be a game I finished in 20 some hours with most of everything discovered, but I was way off. I finished the game with over 40 hours and just 60% achievements completed. It's a good game with a lot of content and fun things to do. I definitely recommend it. Have you played Sandland? What did you think of it? Feel free to share your thoughts. Thank you for watching.